Story 1. The Drive-Thru Ghost. It happened 3 summers ago, at a fast food joint just off a highway exit in rural Georgia. I was 19, working the night shift to save up for college. Midnight to 6 a.m., just me, a fry cook named Ronnie, and the occasional trucker pulling in for black coffee and burgers. That night started like any other, quiet, dead quiet. The kind of quiet where the hum of the soda fountain gets under your skin. I had the headset on, manning the drive-thru. Ronnie was in the back, scrolling through his phone like always. Around 1:13 a.m., the headset clicked. "Hi, welcome to Burger Barn. What can I get started for you?" I said. No response. Just static, then a strange scraping sound, like metal dragging on concrete. I repeated myself. Still nothing. A moment later, the security cam showed an old sedan pulling up to the order speaker. But the camera glitched. One frame it was there, the next it wasn't. I blinked and rewound the footage. Same thing. Car. No car. I called out to Ronnie. "You see that?" He didn't even look up. "Cam glitches all the time," he muttered. A few minutes passed. I shrugged it off, chalked it up to technical problems. Then, at 1:32 a.m., the same sound came through again. Static, dragging, then whispering. Low, breathy. Not words, more like syllables strung together with no meaning. I pulled the headset off. My heart was thumping. I went to the back office to check the outside monitors. Nothing in the lot. No cars. But the speaker crackled again, loud enough that Ronnie heard it this time. He frowned. "Dude, that's not normal." I nodded. "You want to come check the lot with me?" He hesitated, then followed me out the back exit with a flashlight. The drive-thru was empty, no car, no tire marks, just a single handprint on the menu board. It looked smudged, like someone had pressed their palm against it and dragged downward. But it was upside down. Ronnie laughed nervously. "Prank, maybe?" We went back inside. I tried to focus on cleaning. Wiped down the counters, refilled napkins, anything to distract myself. 2:04 on my end, the headset beeped again. This time a child's voice. "I want the toy." I froze. We didn't offer kids meals after midnight. "I want the toy, you took it." I checked the cam again, and this time I saw her. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, standing at the window. Pale skin, stringy hair. She was barefoot. No car. "Ronnie, there's a kid at the window," I said, backing away. He rushed up beside me and went pale. "What the?" She was just standing there, staring straight ahead. Not blinking, not moving. I pushed the intercom. "Miss? Are you okay? Where are your parents?" She didn't react. Then, she smiled. Not a normal smile. Too wide. Too many teeth. I ran to the window to get a better look, but when I got there, she was gone. Just gone. Ronnie locked the drive-thru door. We called the cops, thinking maybe there was a lost child. They came, searched the area, found nothing, no footprints. No reports of missing kids. After they left, I went back to the headset. That's when I saw it. On the inside of the headset, written in black Sharpie, were the words, "You took it." I swear to God, those words weren't there earlier. I just cleaned it. I asked Ronnie if he wrote it. He looked at me like I was insane. The next night, I didn't show up for my shift. I quit the next morning. A few weeks later, I stopped by to pick up my last paycheck. The new manager, someone I hadn't met before, handed me an envelope, then paused. "You ever work the headset?" he asked. "Yeah, why?" He looked tired. Worn down. "There's been complaints, a voice coming through. A little girl, saying weird stuff. Every night. Always between 1 and 2. I didn't say anything, just left. But I couldn't stop thinking about it, so I searched online, digging through old news articles. Turns out, back in 1998, a man had a breakdown and drove his car straight into that drive-thru lane. He was speeding. Didn't see the little girl walking with her mom. She died on impact. Her name? Toya. Story 2. The Back Freezer Door. I used to work the graveyard shift at a fried chicken place off I-80 in Nebraska. The kind of place that never really closes minus 24/7 drive-through. Open dining area until 3 am. Neo was crap, but I liked the quiet. Mostly truckers, insomniacs, and the occasional drunk college kid. One night, I think it was a Wednesday, the weather turned ugly. Heavy rain, wind rattling the windows. We had maybe 2 customers in 4 hours. Around 2:15 a.m., I was restocking sauces when I heard the back freezer door slam shut. Hard. I flinched. The walk-in freezer has a thick metal latch. You don't accidentally slam it. I turned to Andy, the cook. "You in the back?" He shook his head. "Haven't left the grill." I walked to the freezer. Door was shut, light inside glowing through the tiny window. I peeked through. Empty. No one inside. I opened it. Cold air hit me like a wall. Inside, one of the boxes of frozen tenders had fallen. That was it. I picked it up, chalked it up to bad stacking, and left. But a few minutes later, it slammed again. Louder this time. I ran back. This time, the latch was undone. Just swinging slightly, like someone had closed the door but hadn't sealed it. I stared at it for a while. Something about that image, that slow swinging latch, made my stomach twist. Andy walked over. "That door doing its thing again." "What thing?" He hesitated. Then said, "You ever hear the story?" I shook my head. He leaned against the mop sink and kept his voice low. "Sometime in the late 90s, a kid worked here, night shift. First week on the job, got locked in the freezer by accident. Other worker didn't notice until morning. Kid froze." I laughed. "Seriously?" He nodded. "They changed the door after that, added the inside latch, but folks say he still hangs around." I raised an eyebrow. "You believe that?" He shrugged. "I didn't, until last week. Door kept unlatching, no reason. Then I saw something through the window." He didn't elaborate, just walked off. At 3:01 a.m., I went to take the trash out. You have to pass the freezer to get to the back exit. As I walked by, the window fogged up from the inside. And then, a handprint pressed against the inside glass. Fingers spread. Small, like a kid's. But 2 nights later, the new girl, Alyssa, had the closing shift alone. I had swapped to mornings. She didn't show up the next day, no call, no message. We found out later that she'd been in the hospital, severe hypothermia. Son, she got stuck inside the freezer. Said she was in there for hours. But the security footage showed her walking into the freezer at 3:04 a.m. and walking out 17 seconds later. No one believed her. But I did. Because that night, the freezer door didn't just slam, it whispered. Right as she walked out, the audio caught it. Barely audible. "Stay." Story 3. He watches from the dining room. This happened in 2021, when I worked at a 24-hour taco chain in Arizona. Small place, mostly regulars and truckers passing through. I worked the night shift every weekend, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The weirdness didn't start all at once. It crept in. It began with the feeling of being watched. There was a corner booth in the dining room, way in the back. Dimly lit, half covered by a flickering neon light from outside. And for 3 nights in a row, I swore I saw someone sitting there. Just sitting. But every time I went to check, it was empty. First night, I saw a figure out of the corner of my eye. Looked up from the register, just a dark shape in the booth. When I walked over, It was gone. Second night, I saw movement again. Same booth. This time, it looked like someone hunched over, head low. I went over quickly. Empty. Third night, I didn't just see someone, I heard them. I was mopping the floor when I heard a cough, a dry, raspy one, coming from that back corner. When I turned, the booth was empty again. But the table had a cup on it, a paper cup, and it wasn't ours. Wrong logo, old style, looked like the design from years ago. I tossed it out, thinking maybe someone left it earlier. But that night, as I was closing out the register, I heard it again. Cough. This time, followed by a low scraping sound, like nails dragging across the tabletop. I turned on all the lights, walked through the dining room. Still nothing. I mentioned it to Carlos, the shift lead. He got really quiet. "You're seeing him too?" I laughed nervously. "Who?" He hesitated. "They call him the Watcher, shows up late. Always in that booth. Been going on for years. Nobody knows who he is." I thought he was messing with me. But Carlos didn't joke much. He showed me a photo on his phone. It was from the security cam feed a few months back. There, in the corner booth, was a man, sitting still, wearing what looked like a diner uniform. Head tilted sideways, face pale. I asked what happened next. Carlos said, next shift, he wasn't there, but the seat was wet. Like someone had been sitting in it for hours, just sweating. That was the last night I worked without fear. Because the next weekend, he wasn't in the booth. He was at the counter. I was counting the till at 3:40 a.m. when I felt someone behind me. I turned, no one, but on the counter was another cup. Same old logo, same weird design, this time filled with water. And beside it a napkin, folded, with something written on it. "Do you see me yet?" I felt cold, not like air conditioning cold, bone deep cold. I grabbed my bag, left the drawer half counted, and walked out. Carlos found me in my car an hour later, shaking. He went inside, pulled the security tape. He wouldn't let me see it. Just told me to quit, said he'd cover for me. Later that week, I snuck back in to grab my last check. I peeked at the security room. I saw the paused footage on the monitor. A man, sitting in that same corner booth. Only this time, his face was turned fully toward the camera, and he was smiling. Directly at me. Story 4. The Man in the PlayPlace Tunnel. This happened in 2019, when I worked the overnight shift at a major fast food chain that had one of those old indoor PlayPlace areas. You know the ones, bright plastic slides, sticky ball pits, those colorful crawl tunnels suspended above the dining room like oversized hamster tubes. During the day, it was loud and chaotic, but at night, dead quiet. No kids, no laughter. Just a dark, echoing structure hanging overhead like a giant plastic skeleton. I worked solo most nights, cleaning, prepping, restocking. The PlayPlace had its own set of motion-activated lights that rarely triggered. Except that week. It started on a Thursday. Around 2:30 am. I was wiping down the counters when the PlayPlace lights blinked on. Motion detected. I froze, stared at the glowing jungle of empty tubes. Nothing. Probably a glitch, I thought. I went back to work. A few minutes later, I heard it. Thump. Like someone crawling inside the tunnel above the dining area. I looked up. The plastic was tinted, just dark enough that you couldn't quite see through it. But the shape was unmistakable. A figure, slowly moving from one end of the tube to the other. I backed away, heart hammering. I didn't know what to do. Call the cops? Was it a homeless guy? A break-in? I ran to the back and grabbed the flashlight. When I returned, the lights had gone off again. I climbed the short ladder up to the tunnel's hatch, a maintenance access point. It was locked. Padlock still in place. No way anyone got in from inside. I stood there, flashlight shaking, and told myself I imagined it. But the next night, it happened again. 2:17 am lights in the PlayPlace flicked on. Then that same thump thump echoing through the tubes. This time it was faster, more frantic, like someone crawling quickly, scraping plastic with knees and elbows. I bolted from the room, checked the camera feed from the office. Motion detected, but no figure captured, just the lights flicking on. Tunnel empty. I didn't sleep that morning. On Saturday, I brought it up to my manager. She got pale when I mentioned the tunnel. "You've seen him too?" That stopped me cold. She explained that years ago, when the store first opened, a man had snuck into the PlayPlace after hours. No one noticed. He'd been living in the tunnels for nearly a week, eating scraps, watching families from inside the plastic maze. One night, a kid swore he saw someone inside while playing. Security found nothing. A few days later, a janitor opened one of the tunnel hatches during cleaning, found a sleeping bag, empty food wrappers, a torn-up driver's license, but no man. They never found him. After that, the late-night staff started reporting strange things. Lights flickering on, sounds in the tunnels, whispers echoing through the slides. They thought he was gone or dead. But apparently not. That Sunday night was my last shift. At exactly 2:21, the PlayPlace lights turned on again. I looked up, and this time he was there, crouched inside the main tunnel, face pressed against the plastic, staring straight down at me. He didn't move. He didn't blink, just watched. I dropped the mop and ran. Didn't clock out. Didn't grab my bag. Drove straight home. The next day I called to quit. My manager didn't seem surprised before hanging up. She said quietly, "He only watches people who notice him." And ever since that night, in quiet places, my room, my hallway, my car mirror at night, I sometimes hear it. Thump, thump, like something crawling just above my head. If this story gave you chills, you're not alone. Subscribe to Oh My Ghoshh Stories for more terrifying tales every day. Drop a comment below. What would you do if this happened to you? Until next time, stay safe, stay alert, and don't turn around.